ready to go, Satan? Satan told me to put on Just for Men. Only your barber knows for sure. Okay, let's get to business. I already got 3 people waiting. Let's see. Darken, aren't you the guy who recommended this music that I'm playing right now? Isn't it you? But 1,000 pine points for being here first. Beowulf. Oh, maybe this is... No, this is... Oh, this is not right. This is not right. See, I scheduled it too far in advance. There were people here sooner than you guys, so I have to cancel this. Sorry, Satan, Lucifer. This is not... I know you... No, it's not going to work. Okay, now we got 4 people waiting. Okay, so here's the ground rules. The rules are... I'll look at the clock. I'm not going to put a timer up there. I'm just going to look at the clock and have about 5 minutes on there. If I hope theists call in. If you're an atheist, I'm prejudiced against you. You're immoral. You're filthy. You eat babies. You atheists have no standards of morality and no basis for logic. So you can call in, and my guess is if atheists do call in, they want to talk politics, which bores me to tears. It's kind of interesting, but so preference to theists, 5 minutes, and if you're interesting. I'll go longer. However, I decide if it's interesting or not, and no talking over each other if that starts to happen. This is going to be just civil dialogue back and forth. This is not going to be like other shows, short and sweet. Know exactly what you want to ask me before you ask me. Know what you want to say before you say it, and we'll go from there. Okay, so the first person is Jim. I feel like saying Jim from Wichita. Let's see, Jim. Let me take this off first. Can you hear me, Jim? Jim, you got to check your settings, audio, video, and come back when you do. Or maybe you're there. Can you hear me? Nope. Gene. Can you hear me, Gene?
Gene, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to be seen or no?
Yeah, I can. Give me a sec. Let me close here.
Okay, and I'll be seen too. I'll be seen too. Where are you right now? Okay, let me look at the clock. For 105. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'm in the lab right now. I'm a researcher from Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Interesting.
Chemistry background?
What?
Chemistry background?
No, molecular biology background.
Okay, I forgive you.
It's okay. Like, it's STEM. Are you working in a lab right now?
No, I'm a finance guy now.
Really? You were in analytical chemistry, no?
Yes.
But how did you... That's an interesting switch.
Yeah, I was working for a pharmaceutical company called Atheist Organics, which I think was bought out, and they extracted estrogen out of horse urines for women who are menopausal so they could have more balance in their hormones. Mm-hmm. So they hired me as the taste tester.
Really? Ew. I don't believe
it,
man.
Actually, interesting story is I came up with a new protocol for extracting estrogen out of horse urine that was like...
effective?
Way faster, took up less men, and the next year I got a raise, a promotion, and I think 2/3 of the staff were laid off.
Wow. That's tough.
Yeah. But anyhow, did you want to ask me something or tell me something?
Sure. I mean, I stopped being a Christian in January 2019. And this is an interesting take because I don't know if you've ever touched these topics, but what are your thoughts on like right now I'm an agnostic. I don't consider myself an atheist. Um, but I do not believe in Christianity. But I'm still attracted to Christian women. Interestingly enough, like
Oh, no, 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 no. When you see a Christian woman, you look at her and you say, "Get ye behind me, Satan."
no, 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 no. But listen to me, because it's not like I'm like going to a church and that's like my Tinder feed or anything. It's literally in the common day, like you can be in the like even in my lab right now. Well, that's a situation that's going on right now, but like the last women that I met that were really interesting and really caught my eye, they tended to be Christian. And I was like, but the good thing is that at least the last one, she's pretty open. So she's a liberal type of Christian. But I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that, because I don't think you ever touched relationships here.
Yeah, I've talked about relationships on my channel, but here's my advice: quick to the point. Don't do it. I actually agree with the Christians when they say don't be unequally yoked. Now, my wife is a Christian. I'm an
Mhm.
atheist, but we both got married as Christians, so I think it's wrong to divorce just because of that. We don't fight. We get along. We have a great marriage. We like each other. We have a beautiful family. All that sort of thing. We love each other. But if religion is such a core foundation for so many Christians that to get married and not share that, I think is a disservice to both of you.
I understand. Yeah, it's true.
I'm
Yeah, yeah.
sorry. Like now, I my only caveat to that is if she's really good looking.
That's pretty.
If she's really good looking, you have my blessing.
But dog, honestly, is that objective? Is that objectively true?
Oh yeah,
What are your standards for
okay.
deciphering what is beautiful and what is not? Like,
Oh,
do you?
it's not subjective. It's not a matter of opinion. It is science. It's like
It's science.
it's symmetry. It's being a brunette, not a blonde.
Ah,
Is she a brunette
you
or
better.
blonde?
She's actually brunette. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
there you
think
go. Yeah,
so.
have her
Beautiful
have
personality.
her come on. I'll interview her, and
You'll be my wingman. I
I'll
believe in you, Doug.
well no, I'll be your what do you call it? Like they do in Hinduism, the arranged marriage type thing.
Oh no, oh no, 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 no one of those. Anyway, I won't take more of your time. I'm here just immunostaining, and hopefully I'll leave soon and eat with the family.
You
So
have a pipette in front of you.
I know I have this is like this for it's a mounting solution for like tissues.
Mounting solution. Well, that's
Yes.
kind of appropriate if you're working with. No, no, don't go there. Okay, it's been 5 minutes. I really enjoyed it. Thanks, Gene.
Take care.
You too. Okay, who do we have here? I'm going in order. Let me turn this off first. Hello, can you hear me? I can hear something back there. It's G for guest. Can you hear me? I can't hear you except for some background noise. Going, gone. You can try back again if you get things figured out. Oh, hey, we got Kevin.
Yeah,
Hey, Kevin, how are you doing?
good. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'd say about 8 out of 10.
Great. Okay.
You want to be
Happy to
seen,
meet
or
you. Yeah.
is it okay for me to show your face?
Sure.
Okay, there you are. Okay, you got 5 minutes. What do you want to talk about? Do you want to ask me something, or do you want me to ask you something?
What is your advice to missionaries who have been called back and can't go out in the field because of COVID?
What kind of missionaries? We're talking Mormon, Christian, Muslim,
Southern Baptist.
Southern Baptist. Are you that person?
No, no.
Oh,
This is someone that I grew up with. We
someone.
went to school together way back in the day.
Okay, and they came back to the United States, and they're asking you if they should go back, even though there's COVID.
No, he's not asking me. He's asking people for money. and
Oh,
and he's not even away now. So he's come back to the States and is asking people for money.
Okay. Well, if people, it's a free country. If they want to give him money, they can give him money, but I wouldn't. But if, from his point of view, from the Christian worldview, it is better to lose your body than lose your soul, right? So mission works, preaching the gospel, giving people the opportunity to accept it or reject it is more important than getting COVID. And so that's probably the way he's looking at it. But I think he's probably using COVID as a way to get even more money.
Probably.
Because look at the risk I'm taking to serve the Lord. Look how it's like a type of a persecution complex.
Oh, and did I mention he's in a country which is mostly Catholic, so it's about 85 to 90% Christian already. But I guess they're not the right kind of Christian.
Oh, yes. Well, yeah, Catholicism is basically the same as the devil, right? So from his point of view.
Probably worse.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a nice way to tell someone to go jump in a hole?
Well, do you really like this guy? Are you close to him?
No, we haven't spoken face to face in 20 years.
Okay.
But he contacted people that I know and somehow got my email address as well. And I guess he just sent out this big, mass email to anybody he ever knew, ever. And I should say, we grew up in the same church. So I'm a former Southern Baptist. Okay. And so he reached out to a bunch of people, I guess, that he grew up with and, asked them for money. And evidently enough people gave him money that he went, but now he's back and still asking for money.
Well, maybe you could try what's called street epistemology on him. Just ask short, simple questions. Ask him, do you think maybe, how would you tell the difference between God wanting you to do this versus like get a real job? Don't say real, just say a different job.
Well, he left corporate America. He's got an engineering degree.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
So he's serious. He really believes this stuff. He's not a shyster.
Yeah. Well, that's debatable, I guess. But from the looks of everything, he really believes this. Really thinks that he's called to do this.
And the biggest thing for you is it just really irks you that he's asking for money to do this. Yeah.
Yeah. I have got no problem if somebody wants to go do this, but, to beg people for money versus going to do it on your own dime. Like I said, it's a place that's already like between 80 and 90% Christian already.
Yeah. Well, I hear you. I have a lot of close friends and relatives who are in the same situation. And it seems like they never quite get enough money, and then they have to ask their Christian family to help bail them out, and then they say the Lord provides when really the parents just feel sorry for them.
Yeah.
I know your situation, but it's a free country. If people want to give them money to go into Christian countries to preach the gospel, I guess that's his prerogative. Yeah. But anyhow, that's been 5 minutes already. It goes by fast.
Seriously?
Yeah. Was there one last thing you wanted to say or ask?
No, that was a quick 5 minutes.
Yeah, but my advice is try to come up with just don't say anything to him. Just ask him questions to really get him to think, why exactly is he doing this? Why does he need to ask money from strangers or from people if he already has it? But maybe he doesn't.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, he worked a corporate job for several years.
Okay.
And now it's gone on to do this. And yeah, I don't want to be abrasive, but like I said, maybe telling someone to jump in a hole is the nice way to put it. So maybe I've got it all along.
Yeah. Well, with the way I handle people in my life like that is after a while they have figured out that no, I'm not going to support them.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And they leave me alone, and that's probably what's going to happen with you. He'll leave you alone eventually.
True.
Yeah. But anyhow, thank Kevin for coming on.
Thank you.
Take care. Now, you just press the X or the leave button at the bottom. There you go. Now I see Geoffrey But Geoffrey, you look under the age of 18, like seriously way below the under age of 18. And so I'd rather not talk to you. I try not to talk to minors. So if you're an old fart like me, yeah, you're definitely in. Let's see here. We have, let me turn this off.
Yeah, then just press the X or the button at the bottom.
Okay, you're going to have to turn off the YouTube guest. And yeah, everything looks right. Okay, you got it off? Put up your thumb if you got me off on YouTube. Okay, there we go. Back on. Okay, 1:17, 5 minutes. Do you want me to ask you questions, or do you want to ask me questions, or do you just want to say something?
It's great to finally get to talk to you. I've been following your content for a long time, and yeah, just go ahead and ask me some questions.
Are you a theist, atheist?
I'm an atheist, former theist.
Okay, what type of former theist?
I used to be a Roman Catholic.
Oh, I've been picking on them lately. Have you noticed that?
Yes, you have. You have. I was watching that, what's his name, Marshall Taylor video, and you're going on about how could it be so bad for them to go on the altar and everything, and I was writing in the chat, I'm like, it's bad. It's really bad, Doug.
Can you help me? Can you somehow come up with a word picture or some way to help me and other people like me to understand why they're so superstitious about this?
I guess you kind of grow up with the whole notion of having things being sort of anointed by a priest. Like you have a little pendant, or you give for baptism, you give these little gifts, and the priest will say Latin things over them, and you take them home, and they feel sort of like they've been embedded with this holy thing, and they're there to protect you and everything. And so I guess the altar would be the ultimate place of holiness, and it's just, I don't know, I guess it's like sacred. Yeah, I don't know how else to explain it. It's like it's been ruined, it's been soiled. It's a special place where people come to confess their sins and to take part in the Eucharist, and everything is so holy and clean in a way. And if they soil it by having sex on the altar, or just it's bad for them. I understand how it's bad for them.
Like, as a former Christian but Protestant, I'm thinking, okay, you got the creator of the universe who is all powerful, all knowing, all loving, all this stuff. Do Roman Catholics actually believe that the creator of the universe cares about stuff like that?
I guess so. I think, having gotten to know a lot of Protestants, it's all about that sort of like personal relationship with Jesus, and how it's this personal thing. And I think in the Catholic faith, it's more of a you go by the ropes. You do this thing. You try to appease God by showing up, doing the Hail Marys and praying the Rosary and everything. And I don't know. It's repeat your question again.
Well, there's a huge disparity in having this all-powerful creator being upset about the most minuscule thing, like having coitus on a desk. It seems bizarre to me. Like, I can understand the sin of it, like having sex, but having sex on a particular desk that humans have called an altar, I just do not get. It seems to me like you're basically saying that this God, the creator of the universe, is so micromanaging and so petty that he cares about every little detail. But maybe that's how they view it.
I think by analogy, I once saw a psychology professor give a lecture where he asked people to wear a sweater, and everyone raised their hand and said, okay, we'll do it. And then he said, yeah, but this was a sweater worn by a serial killer while he committed his crimes. And the hands all went down, and people sort of associated the sweater with being bad. And I think in reverse, it's like the sweater being negative. I think the church, the altar, the priest, the blessings are the ultimate positive. So by soiling them in a way, having sex or doing anything that would take away from that, I think it's sort of their way of trying to be close to God and having this holy, clean thing just where they can partake in that. Okay. I think that's the best way to explain it.
Okay. We got a couple minutes left, but I want you to pretend I'm a Roman Catholic, the type that you were. Were you like more conservative or more liberal?
More liberal.
Okay, that
Liberal.
might be tougher.
Yeah.
But I'm a Roman Catholic. Tell me why, or ask me a question to make me doubt why it's true, or ask me something that would make me think maybe I shouldn't be a Roman Catholic. Or tell me why Roman Catholicism is bad. What would you say to me if I were a Roman Catholic? And I said to you, you should be a Roman Catholic. What's your response?
Why you shouldn't be one? You're asking a good reason why you shouldn't be Catholic?
Yeah, I'm telling you that you should be a Catholic. You should go back to Roman Catholicism. What would be your response?
It's an organization that, in my country, for example, is funded by taxes, and you are basically paying for an organization that invests their money in lawyers defending pedophiles. And
there's always bad eggs.
But they're holding that to a higher standard than actually protecting people. Like even people in the church would mention that, it's a couple of bad eggs, and it's obviously not bad, but the whole it's ridiculous. Like people doing backflips and trying to explain this, and people actually abusing children. In any other circumstance, people would be outraged, but this whole thing and being in the church context is just ridiculous.
Now, if me as a Roman Catholic pretending I could say, well, yeah, that's all true, and I agree with you, this is horrible, we need to root out corruption, and that's why I support guys like Taylor Marshall, because he's rooting this stuff out. However, it is true that Jesus Christ is God in flesh, died for your sins, and rose from the dead, and if you don't accept that, you're going to go to hell for eternity. Why don't you turn back to Roman Catholicism?
I think for the same reasons I would answer that to a Protestant, just because it's not all there. The more you get into the subject matter, and the more you actually start asking tough questions, the answers just aren't sufficient.
Okay, yeah, that's a similar answer I give. Is I don't think the evidence is sufficient. It doesn't rise to the level of the claim. So,
like I say, I always say doubt is a virtue, and doubt is not something that is heavily encouraged in the church.
Yeah, and when I say doubt, I usually mean not any emotion, but questioning. Don't assume that it's true. If you value truth, you're open to the idea that you might not currently possess it. So, but anyhow, what's your first name?
Michael.
Michael. Thanks for Michael. It says guest on the bottom, so I wasn't sure. Nice talking to you, Michael.
It was great talking to you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, Jim left. Trevor. Hey, hi Trevor.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Let's see. Can you put your camera up or yourself down or something?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, there we go.
Otherwise I have to screen capture you.
Yeah, no, you're good. I'll put myself down. Here we go.
Okay, Trevor, are you a atheist or theist?
I am an ex-Mormon, actually. I'm here in Salt Lake City, Utah. I was 35 when it kind of just like one day clicked. Kind of weird.
Oh, well, I was 35. Well, that's when the process started for me, 35. But it was very quick for you?
I would say exiting out of, to become an atheist or to be like done with the Mormon church. I think those are kind of two different things. But
yeah, let's say to be done with the Mormon church. How long did that take you?
That was about a day.
Wow. What was it that caused it?
There were, I think, 3 different people that all in one day recommended that I read this document called the CES letter. I don't know if you're familiar.
I've heard that before.
Okay, yeah. It's like an 80-page document that a former member of the church put together that was having a bunch of doubts and concerns about the history, the doctrine of the church, and wrote it to the CES, the Church Education Systems Director, right, of the church for answers, and just never got a response. So ended up putting it online. It went viral, and yeah. So anyway, but yeah, no. So I read that. Me and my wife, we sat down, luckily together, and we just like went through it. Stayed up all night, like cross-referencing everything, and the next day we were like, we want nothing to do with this. So
Are your parents Mormon and her parents?
Yeah, so everybody that I think I have two family members, if you count like cousins that are ex-Mormon or are just not active. But aside from that, every single family member that I have, every friend that I had, this was 4 or 5 years ago now, but they continue to be active, participating members of the church. And so it's difficult, man. It's super difficult. But the reason I was calling was because I wanted to get a Reader's Digest version from you, and I know time is very limited, but I just found you probably like 3-4 months ago, and I've just been eating up your videos. Like, you're hilarious, but on top of that, like you're able to communicate concepts in a way that's really easy to grasp for me. I've been going through the whole thing with like the Jesus and God thing, and just coming to the realization that I'm an agnostic atheist. And the atheism has to do with belief, and you can't really decide that. You just one day, for me anyway, it's like, oh shit, I don't believe in any gods. But the Jesus thing for me, I'm just now realizing that none of the actual apostles lived during the time of Jesus, or like none of the gospels were written. Like, we don't have anything before 55 CE.
Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't go so far as to say the apostles didn't exist when Jesus existed, but I think the consensus is that Mark, the first gospel, was written in 65 to 70 AD, thereabouts. Nobody knows for sure.
Right.
Wouldn't it be great if they actually said it within the text, that where and when it was written? But no, they didn't. And
might have clarified a few things.
But Paul, Christianity was basically from Paul, which was in the 55 ADs. And, the 1 Corinthians 15 creed is supposed to be this great thing that Christians hold up as great evidence that this is true, but it's just a set of beliefs, right? And there's absolutely nothing before that to back it up. It's just we got to accept what Paul says is true. So
Paul basically retrofit history, found somebody that he was inspired. I mean, like, I know we don't know, but like, I'm trying to figure out like what happened in early Christianity, from 25 to 55. Like, do we know anything, or is it just what Paul basically created and then he kind of retrofitted all to?
I think what a lot of historians say, that we can say we know with a higher degree of confidence, is that Jesus was probably some type of apocalyptic preacher who had a following, maybe out of the Essene movement, which was very apocalyptic, and got in trouble and died, was crucified. And then his maybe 1, 2, 3 of his followers had these experiences like people have today when a loved one dies. What form Jesus appeared to them. Was it an hallucination, a vision, a dream, or whatever? And the idea to reinterpret the Old Testament scriptures to fit for Jesus as the new Moses, the new Elijah, I think was the template, the basis to create the Gospels. Now, keep in mind, Paul talks very little about Jesus' life and ministry. It's more or less the big picture idea of Jesus came to die for your sins.
Okay, right.
Yeah. But it was a whole flip, a whole inversion of the Old Testament. That's the New Covenant.
And where does this Q character fit in? Is that some sort of mystery text that we think may have inspired Mark, or?
Yeah, Q is not a person. It's a document that they think existed that was like a gospel in that, which is now lost. But there's things that Matthew talks about, which he didn't copy from Mark. There's things that Luke talks about that he didn't copy from Mark. Maybe there's a Q source that supplied what they said. And that Q source could never have existed. Maybe it's just oral tradition. But yeah, that's just a theory.
And are you familiar with the book of Enoch?
I know of it, yes. Seems like whoever brings it up is I got to be careful with.
No, I don't know a lot about it. I've just barely, started looking into that as kind of also something as kind of a precursor, or something that may have inspired the key document, or was the key part of this whole, I don't know, inspiration for Mark. I don't know. But okay. Yeah, I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit and just see kind of like, you know, because as I enter into these conversations with people, it just inevitably happens because I'm very open and vocal with my family about where I sit. These big kind of topics come up, and I don't want to, like, obviously,
You know,
put in my mouth,
the best way to talk to family who are still believers about this, if they're really interested in the historicity of it, is to use my flying man thought experiment. And it's,
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen that, but you basically have your Christian friends and family list like 10 things, 10 pieces of evidence that they think is strong, and then apply it to Pine Creek's great-great-great-great-great-grandfather who could fly. Like from the very beginning, there was a creed written about 25 years after my great-great-great-great-grandfather flied that says that he did fly over the Grand Canyon, and he flew in front of 500 people, and then he flew in front of 12 people or 11 people, and then lastly, he flew to me, the author of this diary written 20 years later. And then you ask your Christian family, would you believe it based on that? Just on that creed of the flying man. And if they say yes, pretend to slap them in the face and say, shame on you. You shouldn't.
Right.
And for the same reason, you shouldn't believe it for Jesus. Don't lower your standards for Jesus. So
don't lower your standards for Jesus. I like that.
But I got to run here.
T-shirt.
We were at 8 minutes. Yeah, thanks, Trevor.
Oh, man. Thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Yeah.
Okay, Geoffrey.
Reason you shouldn't believe it.
Turn your YouTube off. Okay, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay, did you want to ask me something?
I did. Yeah, it's good to talk to you. So, I'm an atheist. My parents aren't. They're Pentecostal, speaking in tongues.
Oh, wow.
Overseas in Kenya. So,
you're in Kenya right now?
No, I'm in Michigan, but they live in Kenya.
Oh, that was your son that I saw the first time, and I said you're too young to come on my show?
Yeah, he was setting me up with this, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's your question?
So my question is, I usually send my parents money, you know, every couple of weeks here and there, and I'm for sure they're using that money, you know, to go to church and offering and tithing. And you gotta move. Sorry about that. You think I should be upset about that? I mean, I'm starting to get a little annoyed about that.
What percentage of the money you send them do you think goes to them having food and living in shelter?
I don't know. It's hard to tell because my dad now, it's supposedly a reverend, and he's traveling to church quite a bit, and he doesn't work. You know, it's kind of, you know, whatever income I send them.
How long have you been doing this?
I've been sending money since 2004. I came to America 2004.
And does the amount you send hurt your family in any way or put your family at risk in any way?
I think it does. I think they neglect some issues because the Lord provides, and they'll use, you know, some of those finances that they're supposed to be using for, like, you know, basic needs, you know, to do like churchy stuff, you know, things like that. You see what I'm saying?
But it does hurt your own family? I mean, your son behind you and your wife.
Oh, no.
You can afford to send them?
I can, yeah.
Okay.
But at the same time, I would rather they direct the money to other, you know.
Yeah, I hear you. You're sending them money, and they're using that money to propagate something you don't believe is true, and maybe even harming people in the process.
Correct.
That's a tough one. My intuitions tell me that if it was something like they're using 90% or 80% of the money that you send them to put food on the table, that would be one thing. But if it's flipped, if it's like 90 or 80% of the money you send them, they're using to, I don't know, buy stuff for the church, or just so he can go travel, like to other churches, then I would be hesitant. So is there some way you could find that out?
I don't think I can anymore. I kind of don't. I thought I could really just take their word for it, but there's, a few things I find out here and there, and it's like, ooh, I thought I could really trust your word, but it's like, I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know if I can.
You're having reasons to doubt they're being truthful with you.
Right. But then I can't really challenge them. There's that cultural, dynamic there where you don't really challenge your parents.
Oh, no, that's a bad thing. You challenge your parents.
I know that, but there's that, I'm taking a foot off the gas a little bit. They're old, they're in their 60s. Do I really want to stress them too much?
Oh, 60s is young. I'm almost 50, so
not over there. Life expectancy is 65, so.
Oh, really?
So they're nearing that age. My old man is 63, I believe, or 65, and my mom is 63.
What's the worst that could happen if you cut them off cold turkey tomorrow?
They'd probably starve to death. I mean, they'll get in debt. They start, going and getting food off credit.
Now, if you're correct that they're starved to death, then yeah, keep sending the money. But if they're just, if they have enough money to eat, that's why I asked you that question. And if they would go into debt, well, if you're right and they're going to die right away, I
mean, they won't die tomorrow, but eventually their quality of life will depreciate.
Yeah, and I guess it's really hard for you being in the U.S. To put limits and saying, "Hey, I'll send you the money, but you have to use it for food." You can't enforce that.
I've kind of brought that up to my mother, and I'm like, I'm trying to kind of ask her those questions. Do you really have to take this money to church? Why don't you go find your own income and take that to church? I'd rather you don't use it for that. I don't really believe in what you believe in anymore. So.
Yeah, like I sometimes got upset with my sister had MS and she's passed on, but her and her husband gave so much money to the church, like 10% was the minimum, and then offerings above that, and it's like, in my opinion, it's a waste of money, and they could have really used that money when she got sick and to buy things to help her, but then my dad had to come in to save the day, and it sounds like you're being the dad to your dad and helping.
Yeah, I've been doing it for many, many years. So.
Would you feel extremely guilty if you cut them off?
I'm starting to not feel bad anymore. It's been so long, about 16 years that you kind of start, kind of pulling back. And I have my own kids now, so they're my priority.
Can you ask for receipts every month for food bills and stuff? Or can you send money directly to a grocery store and say, whenever my dad comes in to get food, put it on my tab?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and then that way they have to spend it on food, groceries, and so forth, supplies.
Right. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, that's been 5 minutes. Yeah, interesting predicament you have.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Hey, I want to be your disciple. What's your advice? I'm not kidding. This is my goal. At some point, I want to do this in Kenya. Now they have one atheist society online, and that's about it. 85% they're Christians of the country.
Well, I'll tell you what. Send me an email later on, and we can talk about that.
All right.
Yeah, it's in the About tab in my YouTube page.
I appreciate you.
Okay, take care, Geoffrey.
Thanks.
Now, why is it doing that? Okay, there we go. Adam.
Hello.
Hey, how are you doing, Adam?
I'm good, thank you. How about yourself?
I'd say I'm about an 8 out of 10.
Right, yeah, that's what you answered earlier. So, question I had was regarding your flying man thought experiment. So, like, what if it were the case that my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandpa actually flew over the Grand Canyon, like 500 years ago? It was just a local event, a one-time occurrence. Like I just don't see how would you go, like, is there any way you could see yourself conceivably believing that?
No, not really. I know even if it's true and it happened, I think I'm stuck.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's kind of how I felt too. And that's pretty much all I had for you. So.
Yeah. As soon as you started going down that, I knew where you were going with that. And but let's put some hope in this. If there was something attached to that one-time event, like these diaries were written, 4 diaries about the flying man representing Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. If there was another diary in a different country that it was almost identical, and it was at a time that this diary, there's no way it could have got there, like before transportation over the Atlantic or something. That would increase my confidence that, hey, there's something supernatural attached to the flying man. My friend Camille, that was his answer to how you could actually get evidence of the historical kind to be sufficient to justify such a claim. But even then, like, I don't think that would be enough for me. It would increase my confidence, but I'd say someone planted this. It's like, this is an OJ.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, Doug, I'll let you get on to the next call. Thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Oh, Scott Duke, the guy, I love his name. Of the historical kind to be sufficient to justify such a claim. Yeah, turn off your YouTube there, Scott Duke.
That surprised me.
There you go.
Is it better?
Yeah.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, your turn. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. There's an ethical question as an atheist that I've been kind of dealing with. It's kind of a small one, but I get made fun of by both atheists and the many percentage of Christians around here. And that's like when I'm at a convenience store or a gas station, somebody will come up to me, I think because I look like Santa Claus, because I don't see this happening to other people a lot, and they'll ask me for money. They'll usually start out with a story, my car, it's broken down, or I don't have any, and if you could just let me have a few dollars, that would be so helpful. And then when other people see me give it to them, because I just kind of have a habit when people say they need money to believe them, or even not to believe them, just to do it. Because remember when I was a Christian, the Bible said, give to the person who asks to you, and without reservation. But it strikes me as funny that Christians would make fun of me for doing that. But my question is it unethical to give money to somebody at a gas station or convenience store without asking questions, making sure they're telling the truth or whatever? Because I always get the deal, they're just going to spend it on crack, they're just going to spend it on drugs, they're going to spend it on alcohol, they already get a lot of money.
Yeah, well, you don't know that if you don't ask them questions. I'm getting feedback. Turn my volume down. Or I can turn you mute when I talk.
I'll just
Yeah.
Is that better?
No, hang on a second. I'll turn you right down here, and I'll talk for a second. So I can't hear you. But your question, is it unethical to not ask any questions and just give people money? I'd say no. I would say it might be unwise, but not unethical. I think you might even be doing harm in some cases, but if you don't know because you didn't ask anything, I don't think you're at fault for that. The way I deal with that sort of thing is, since I was raised on a farm, I basically make people work for money, but it doesn't have to be anything major. It can be like, hey, someone comes up to me and asks me for money. I'll say, tell me a 2-minute story about your life. And I tell you, when they do that, they feel so good about themselves, because I'm asking them to share something about their personal life in story form. Sometimes we end up laughing, sometimes even weeping together. And then I said, that story meant so much to me, I'm going to pay you for it. Like, that was a great story. It's basically like an author selling a book, or a musician selling a song, or a poet selling a poem. And it gives them a sense of that they've earned it. And I've also bought people food, and that way you know where it's going. But let me turn your volume back up so you can respond here.
Well, like I remember one time when I was visiting Chicago on vacation, a guy asked me for money for food, and I was actually at a 7-Eleven, and so I just went in and bought him some pizza and something to drink, which is good. But yeah, that idea of having them tell me their story, or I guess I could tell them, I'm going to give you some money, but I need you to tell me a story. That way they don't have to lie or whatever, because they know they're going to get what they're asking for. But yeah, it just always, it kind of bothers me that I would be giving money and that the person might go and waste it on drugs or alcohol. But then again, I realize we don't have a real good health system for people who are homeless or what have you, or even a system to help get them off of drugs. So even if they have to go take drugs, and maybe that's the best thing that happens in their life, maybe that literally is the best thing going on for them. That would be the closest thing to heaven for them. So I don't know. Plus, do you have to take responsibility for everybody if you're going to give them money?
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, that's a real ethical dilemma. You know, I guess I'm a bad atheist because I care about that kind of issue, and I don't want to go out and spend it on drugs for me or whatever. But you know, it's a interesting dilemma, and I get tired of Christians making fun of me for being willing to give. But
yeah, I say each case is different. You got to go case by case. Sometimes you know, your intuitions can be fallible, but sometimes your intuitions are right. And saying this is a guy who's going to do harm either to himself or others with your money. But yeah, I ask them to tell you a joke and pay them $1 for a joke or whatever.
That is a great idea. I never thought of that. One thing I need to ask you. I saw this in the super chat, and we're concerned that your dopamine level is only at an 8. What can we do to make it 9 or 9.5?
Well, there's 4 people lined up to get in, so maybe that's going to do it right there. Like,
maybe that'll do it. Yeah. Are you getting any closer to a 9?
It's coming. Yeah, it's nice.
Okay.
It's nice to do these short 5-minute things because it's so far it's been very civil and where nobody's talking over each other. This is great.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're having a good time.
And I'm glad I finally can put the face to the Scott Duke name because that's the best.
That's
name.
right.
Yeah.
The fuzzy face to the voice.
Okay. Take care, Scott.
Thanks, Doug.
Okay. We got Ron and then 1, 2, 3 Emil next. Hi, Ron.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, your voice. I'm getting an echo.
Getting an echo? Okay. I think I know why that is, and I can fix that.
1, 2 test. No, still getting it.
Okay.
How
about now?
Why don't you talk? And then I'll mute you to respond.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. So I wanted to call first to thank you because well, my phone battery is almost out, but I'll go quick. Thank you for an email that you responded to me about a year ago. I told you over email that I was in a crisis of faith, and I wanted to bring my wife in on it. And I was thinking about, kind of bringing up questions with her. We have a newborn relative, or had a newborn at the time. You recommended I not do anything like that and just provide comfort and be kind. And that's what I did. And I'm really grateful that you recommended that I do that. Now, further along, I see that I kind of had that evangelical mindset, but that wasn't really necessary. And so I'm just grateful to you for that recommendation. And actually, I think my battery is almost about to run out, so I'll just leave it there. I had another thing I wanted to say, but maybe another time. So thank you so much.
I can't hear you.
There. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was muted.
Hearing a little bit of that last one too.
Yeah, I was muted for what's his name? Ron. Ron? Was it Ron? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I basically was just saying how old his young one was, and I guess about a year. But I'm glad it worked out for him. I recognize your name.
Yeah. Yeah, I sent you a few emails too.
So did you want me to ask you something, or do you want to say something to me or ask me something?
I wrote down some questions. So do you think that believing is a choice, or like when I went through my faith, so I have a Mormon background for any of your listeners that don't know. And like, I felt like I believed it, right? And I didn't necessarily, it wasn't a choice to leave, or the big thing right now in the Mormon culture, a lot of the get-togethers and stuff are like, choose to believe. And so anyway, is believing a choice? That's what my question is. What do you think?
I would lean on that beliefs are not a choice. However, we can, free will, determinism, all that aside, I think we can choose to put ourselves in spots that make us push ourselves, stretch ourselves to new ideas, new opinions, and so forth, that might cause us to become convinced later that we were either right or wrong about something. But over time, even that can change.
Well, my big thing was I started, it's a process, right? It was like a 3-year process for me. And I got to the end of that and I started feeling dishonest teaching my kids what the church was asking me to teach. And so my language changed. I was like, instead of saying like, we believe this, it was, well, the church teaches this. And so my language started changing so I could still feel honest. But then after a while, like there's the Richard Dawkins quote that's like, if parents didn't teach their kids the religion, it would die in a generation. And that started to really eat at me. Speaking of kids, they're playing outside. They're out of school today, but anyway.
So you left Christianity how long ago?
It's been about a year since all started. And honestly, I'm friendly to, will you please stop? Sure. Just going to open this orange for my kid.
Is do you have a husband or a spouse?
Yeah, so my husband, so my story is kind of interesting. Okay, can you go outside? I'm just talking to a stranger on the internet.
Don't do this at home, kids.
So I started to doubt. So interestingly enough, I've heard you guys talk about like the atheists like hate Jordan Peterson, but I was listening to politics. It started really bothering me, the echo chambers that I saw people in and myself in. And so I was like, well, shoot, do I have a good reason to believe this, or I'm only believing this because I grew up in a very conservative home, farm family, dairy farm. So
me too.
Yeah, cows are awesome.
We had steers.
Dairy cows are the best. Just kidding. So
utter nonsense.
Yeah, that's right. One of the things I like to do is show people when they come over to, I want to learn how to milk a cow. I'd have them look at the star at the end of the teat and then squirt them in the face with milk. So good joke. Anyways, so I started to wonder if I was an echo chamber, and I never pointed that at my religious belief, but that naturally happened. And then once that started to happen, I was like, shoot, I think all growing up, I kind of wondered if I would ever be a Mormon if I wasn't born into it. And I always felt grateful for that. It's like, oh, I'm so grateful that I was born into this so that I could know the truth. Yeah, because it would be really hard to believe.
So lucky you were born in the right religion. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how it was. It's like even by high school, I realized that it was hard to believe, but I still believed it until I was 33. So, but then my husband, it took a lot. I told my husband, I was like, I don't know if I know anymore, because in our faith, it's like the thing is, you say, I know it's true.
Does he still believe?
No, he's come with me.
Pine Creek Theorem.
Well, yeah, there you go. Yeah, we read, there's a history that the church published. It's called Saints, and they are a little bit more honest in that than they've ever been in any other published thing. Because you go through high school and you take classes in religion, and I took all those classes. I took institute in college, religious classes while at the same time taking my engineering classes. And so, yeah. And then I was in a small Mormon town. So the professors have integrated all of the science with their belief. They have a very nuanced view. So then you're like, oh, all these smart people still believe, so I'm okay. And it's just, I don't know. It's just crazy how you can just, I think it was turned your world upside down when you.
Do you feel okay now?
Yeah, I do. It took some time. I finally just got okay with saying I don't know, and that was hard for me, because you grow up saying I know, and you're sure of this, and there's definitely some indoctrination. Like if you don't believe this, then there's no point in life, right? Like the kind of I think I can't remember that Christian apologist's name. But he articulates it very well. Just like if there's no God, then there's, I think it's William Lane Craig that has.
Yeah, he says that a lot.
And it's so like how. So my thing is, I just feel like I just don't know. Like a dog can't understand how to read. So how am I supposed to be sure that life is meaningless? You know, like I just don't feel like I can take that leap. That's just as, I don't know. That'd be hypocritical of me, I guess. So.
How did your kids take it?
So my oldest is 10, and they want to be still involved with all the activities. Our whole cul-de-sac they're out there playing with them right now. They're all LDS, mostly. We have some neighbors that aren't, but it's just that's what's really hard about it. It's a big part of the community. And so it's been hard to balance that. And I feel like a lot of ex-Mormons kind of get a little bit, they just get anti-Mormon, and I don't feel like I can do that. Like, not even that they're wrong, but I just feel like I have to find some kind of middle ground to maintain these relationships I have. My relationship with my dad was really bad at first. I was reading Jonathan Haidt's book. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's got some good stuff. And he made a comment that like people aren't convinced by combating with them. They're convinced by drawing the circle bigger. And so I was like, instead of thinking about and talking all the time about the things we disagreed on, I just started focusing on stuff we have in common. That helped a lot. So,
so they didn't. So your in-laws didn't disown you, or any church members knock on your door and say, "Hey."
Well, COVID made it easy, so we kind of disappeared with COVID.
There you go.
No church was going on during that. No, we really haven't had anybody disown us. And I think it's because we won't bring it up. Like, we're very, very careful about what we say. In fact, when I have told people, it's not that I haven't told people, because they all know where I'm at. All the people that I love and care about know where I'm at. But I haven't said the things, you put these things on, in Mormonism, they call it a shelf. You're putting things on a shelf, and there's one thing that you put on there that makes it so heavy that it breaks. But it wasn't that thing that made you lose your faith. It was all of the things that made you lose your faith. So, and it's kind of like a light switch just flips, and you're like, holy crap, I have no right to believe this anymore. And so, and in order to be honest with yourself, you have to admit that. And I'd say I lost my belief in supernatural first. I really love Penn and Teller. They're so honest. They're such good people trying to be honest. I don't know how anybody can be mad at them for that, you know? So, but anyway,
there's probably going to be at least some Mormons watching this, at least on the replay. If you could give one piece of advice to Mormons who are watching, who are sort of doubting, on the fence, what would you tell them?
Honestly, if the one thing I want to be supported in being honest with what I've seen. Like, okay, the natural world looks like this to me, so I have a hard time believing in the supernatural story of the angel and the plates and everything. I mean, I can just leave it right there. I don't even have to get into the the wives and all that stuff. I don't even have to get into that. I don't believe in the supernatural. And so I want them to support me in that. And so I'm willing to support them in that. I'm not going to push them away from it. But my thing is just honesty is what did it for me, honestly. And I don't know if that's cliche or whatever, but I have to be honest with what I believe, and I do not believe it. And I don't have. At first, early on, I'd say things like, "Oh, I have a desire to believe," and that's like a scripture in Mormonism. If you have the desire to believe, that's all you need. You don't have to actually believe. And then as it got on, I just kind of, once I found out more information, I kind of lost my loyalty to the church. So I don't really, once that was gone, it was like, I'm not gonna. And so my kids, as far as my kids go, we live here and they're gonna be involved in it. And I'm just gonna be honest with them. So when they come and ask me, I'm not gonna sugarcoat stuff. And if they, in the end, are fully informed and decide they want to be religious, I can't stop them from that. That's,
well, let me, you probably already thought of this, but let me prepare you for something that happened to me and my wife. And that is that the kids in the Mormon church, they will talk to their parents. The word's going to spread like fire that you're no longer believers. Your kids will be treated differently.
Yeah.
And at some point, maybe not right away, and not
because they're little.
Yeah, not too bad. But you're going to notice that your kids will get probably treated in a better way, but in a weird way. It's going to be, oh, poor so-and-so. They have lost their way. We need to pray for them. We need to invite them to come to these special events, even more so than the other kids, because, they're from a lost family. And so
right.
That's what happened with some of, with my kids and some of their friends.
Yeah, I think that might happen. It's hard for it to happen already because I feel like with church kind of being shut down, there is no. Please. Okay. But for it being shut down, there is no like young kid activities right now. They're just doing sermons, basically, the adult stuff over Zoom or meetings. So I think you're right. I think I'm probably going to sense that as soon as church gets back to normal. But
okay. Well, we've been going for about 8 or 9 minutes, so I got Rachel and J-Man waiting. But it's really nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And all the best.
I love watching you guys. What is it? Digital Notes. That's fun to watch those too.
Nathan, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, take care.
Thanks.
All the best to you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay, who is here first, J-Man or Rachel? Rachel, I see you there. Rachel and I go way back, but I'm going to take J-Man first. J-Man, can you hear me? Can you hear me, J-Man?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible but not visible. Do you want to be visible?
Yeah. No, I don't have a camera, so I'm not going to show my face because I have like a Christian family and I don't want to interrupt them and I don't want to give away personal information. So
okay,
you know how that is.
Yep.
So how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Did you leave Christianity recently?
Yes, actually. I'm 21 years old and I left Christianity. Well, personally, we still go to church and all that, at least online because of the coronavirus. But I left Christianity in my mind like a couple of years ago. It came after a long year crisis. I was in a crisis of faith for a very long time because I have obsessive compulsive disorder. I have a disorder. Mm-hmm. I go to a psychologist and stuff, and that's helped a lot. But it was really bad and affected my family really bad. And, after a while I was just like, it started, you kind of helped me with this because, do you remember when you made a video on Paul Washer and the Sermon of Carrots and Sticks?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that was kind of a sermon that when I was in my depressive mood that my family sent to me. I'm not going to tell you which one because I love my family, but one of my relatives sent me that sermon and it kind of put me on a path of wondering, like, am I saved or am I not? And it kind of led to a mental breakdown for me. And, it was very hard on my family. But, eventually I got over it because, after going to psychologist and taking some pills and things like that, I was like,
was it that sermon that caused the breakdown or my critique of that sermon?
No, it was the sermon that caused the breakdown. Okay, this was all the way back. This was all the way back in 2013. So you weren't online back then.
No, I wasn't.
I only saw that later. So
okay.
So yeah, after a while I'm on pills now. So it helped me get my thoughts in line. So eventually I started thinking about my Christian faith, and I'm just wondering because eventually I found out that one of my relatives believes that the earth is flat because the Bible says so. And that kind of led to me doubting Christianity a lot. And I was like, you know, and then so I was like, I don't think the Bible's true anymore, because if the Bible teaches the earth is flat, then I can't believe it. So I went into a kind of deist route for a while, and I'm like, because I was a young earth creationist too, so I was a deist for like a month. And I was like, I don't believe the Bible anymore, but I still believe in God, and the earth is probably 6,000 years old, because this is scientific and all that, and all these creation scientists tell me. And then I figured out that these creation scientists that I was brought up with, like Kent Hovind and Ken Ham, it was kind of like, I realized that the flat earthers and the creationists, they kind of use like similar methods, because they don't listen to evidence. They don't really care what the truth is. At least that's what it seems like to be like.
But J-Man, there's a lot of Christians listening and screaming on the top of their lungs, why didn't you become like biogenesis.org type Christians that believe in evolution, they believe in common descent. These are educated Christians who believe in common descent. Did anybody tell you that you could become that type of Christian?
Yeah, I definitely understand that there are Christians like that. It's just that for me, I grew up with a literal interpretation of Genesis, and to me, the evolution stuff, the evolutionary, theistic evolutionists, they don't make sense to me, because if you look at the historicity of the Bible, obviously Christians way back in the past, including in the medieval times and the founding fathers of Protestantism, they took these verses literally, including the verses about a crystalline firmament above our heads,
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's a great question to ask other Christians, like the time machine question I often ask. You go back into the first century, you find Jesus, and you ask him, what shape is the earth? Was there a literal Adam and Eve, and a global flood, and the commanding of the slaughter of the Amalekites and so forth? And it's really hard to imagine the Jesus Christ of the first century saying no to that stuff. Say, yeah, the earth has four corners, it has a dome, a firmament, and waters above, waters below, and all this things. And it's like, wait a minute, this is God, though, that I worship and serve, and he believes this stuff?
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking too. Because like, if the Bible is of God, how can it have something so blatantly wrong in it? And I'm just thinking, eventually, I study this for a long time, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm done. Because the whole mental breakdown started when because Paul Washer is very charismatic, and he's always trying to get you to question whether you're saved or not. So it started with that. And so eventually I was just like, you know what? I'd rather know that I'm not a Christian than not know that I am one. And so
yeah,
that's what.
Do you still fear hell?
Not really anymore, because to me it's just a little ridiculous. If hell exists and I don't believe, if God's good, he should know that I'm sincere in my disbelief. So why would I have to go to hell over it? It just doesn't make any sense. And it's especially with this Calvinist stuff, and that's kind of a point I wanted to bring up today is Calvinism, because I was thinking, how like it's about works-based salvation, and that was my huge thing growing up with this problem, is the difference between free grace and something called lordship salvation, which is something a lot of Baptists get upset over. And I was thinking, how the reason Calvinism was invented is because people will say that faith is a work,
Mm-hmm. Or repentance.
Or repentance is a work, yeah, exactly. And so Calvinists get around that by saying, well, it's not you who's doing this, it's God doing it through you, Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, well, you're still doing the work though, and because Calvinists will say, yeah, it's all on God, but you have personal responsibility, and I'm like, that's a contradiction. That doesn't make any sense, because sorry.
I was just going to say, I love the fact that Calvinists exist and non-Calvinists exist, and that because this is the most fundamental part of Christianity, is at least Pauline Christianity, is grace. And the Calvinists value grace more than the non-Calvinists. And they realize that the reason why I am not a Christian and they are is because of God. Because if you say that it's because of something I didn't do, something I didn't accept, then mere mortals, mere humans have the power for their eternal destiny. And that, where's the grace in that if they have the power and not God? And so, yeah, But I get the non-Calvinist point of view as well. It's like it's a little bit of you and a little bit of God, and put them together in some type of synergy, and you have salvation. But yeah, it's still a big problem for them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's a problem with Calvinism too, because they say, it's all on God, but they also say that if you don't believe, you're also personally responsible, and that's why God can send you to hell, right?
Right.
Well, if it's by grace, then where's the personal responsibility in that? It's supposed to be all on God.
Yeah.
So if it's by grace, then I can't be held personally responsible, because then it would be works.
If you ever talk to a Calvinist, and most of them are going to be far right-leaning Republican types, let them know that Calvinism is a lot like socialism. It's it's not based on human effort. It's not based on you get that government check whether you work for it or not. It's like your safety net, and that will bother them, because I know how a lot of these Calvinists think, and they will just irk them that comparing their religion to socialism. But anyhow, it's been we're getting close to 10 minutes now. But thanks for calling in. How long have you been watching my channel?
Oh, for about a year. I just wanted to say one more thing about the Calvinism thing. Basically, they say that faith, you're personally responsible to have faith, right? Well, in the same sense, Muslims, right? They believe that you can't do anything without God willing it. Well, it's basically the same as Calvinism, but just replace faith with any work, and I can equally say that Muslims are based on grace, and yet they have personal responsibility.
Mm-hmm. And then plus Christians will say faith is a gift, but some Christians push back on that. But
and Muslims can say that the ability to perform Hajj or the ability to believe is a gift from God, so they can basically say they're by grace too. Of course, they won't say that because they have to encourage people to do good works. But you get the point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for calling in, J-Man. I got Rachel, a person who I led to hell a couple years ago, so I got to talk to her. Take care. All the best to you.
All right. Bye.
Bye. You're still there, Rachel. Do you want to be seen?
Wait 1 second.
Hi. Do you want to be seen or do you want to be incognito? Yeah, you got to fix your mic there. Oh, it stopped. That's good.
I got these like crappy batteries, and they're so annoying. They don't last very long. Anyways, yeah, I can be seen.
I assume so. So I put up your face.
Yeah.
So we have a lot in common. You're Canadian. I'm Canadian. I left Christianity because of me, and you left Christianity because of me. No, partly. Yeah. Nobody leaves for one reason.
Yeah.
So what did you want to say or ask or let the
well,
world
mostly
know?
I just wanted to say hi, but because we're supposed to ask a question.
You're not supposed to. You can say stuff if you want.
Oh, okay. That last video you did about the like superstitious like Catholics, that was so funny. I was like laughing my head off. You did a very good job, even though you laughed 3 times.
Yeah, 3 strikes and I was out.
Yeah, I don't want to make fun of anyone either. So I don't know. I don't like making fun of people because I know people really believe that, and like my parents are very superstitious too. So
I think the Roman Catholics were like, because I often beat up on Protestant apologists, right? And and I've known for the last couple of years that some Roman Catholics, not too many, but some watch my channel. And maybe some of them were just praying, please, Lord, don't let Pine Creek talk about us. Don't let Pine Creek talk about us. And, But I've gotten some comments in the last 48 hours on that one from Roman Catholics.
I bet, yeah. Because it's very, there's a lot of religious people that are very, like their beliefs are very important to them, right? But I know a lot of Roman Catholics that are just like really strong in it. So, yeah, like my parents are really superstitious too. Did I ever tell you whenever they go to like a hotel or like a new place, they like pray and put a cross of oil above the door?
Oh wow, yeah, that's full on Pentecostal type Christianity.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. I did think of a question while I was waiting. You know how a lot of Christians believe in like end times? Like my parents are really big on that, and it's like sometimes they'll be saying something and they'll say, yeah, maybe we'll go there next year if the Lord tarries or something. And it's just like, do you think there'll ever be a point where that'll like end, or will they just like keep believing the same thing? Because it's been 2,000 years, you know?
I think, yeah, that's a great question. I think for individuals, especially in the Pentecostal denomination, who at a very young age, keep saying Jesus is coming soon, Jesus is coming soon, and they end up being 75 years old and they're about to die, I think they have to look back on their life, especially when they're looking at young people like they were saying the exact same thing. It has to hit them that, no, Jesus is not coming soon or may not come soon. So...
Yeah, I don't know, because I think
bet your dad on it somehow.
bet my dad on it.
Yeah, say
I know he wouldn't take that.
I'll bet you $10,000 that Jesus won't come in the next 5 years, and I tell you, maybe he'll take you up on it.
I mean, it's same with healing. The beliefs are very like wiggly, you know, like they will believe it. But I asked him, like, if you take a tally of all the times that you pray for someone and all the times that there's a noticeable difference, you know, like that can be medically proven or whatever, like, is it actually worth praying for them? And he said, he eventually admitted that it's not about healing. It's about using healing to bring people to Jesus.
Hey, hang on a second. For the Americans watching right now, what Rachel said is about.
About.
But yeah, that's a great question. Like if there's a vaccine for polio, or there is, or smallpox or whatever, do you need to pray that this vaccine works when we know it works 99.9999% of the time? It's like, no, you don't need to pray for something you know that will work. Hey, are apologists still trying to reconvert you after the destruction I've done?
I told you I had a conversation with Jonathan McClatchy. It was an interesting conversation, but mostly it was just like him saying things that I didn't know enough about to comment on. So I don't know, like, I'm not interested enough to go like research. Like, people might judge me for that, like Christians or atheists, that I'm not like reading all the apologist books, but I'm not that interested.
There's a couple ways to respond to people like that, and that is, do you really think that it's a matter of knowledge and research that causes people to convert to Christianity? And I dare a Christian say yes to that, because then they are judging all those Christians who became Christians just because they love Jesus and experienced Jesus at summer camp or whatever, wherever, and they don't want to go there.
I know, like, Jonathan McClatchy is an evidentialist, right? So I think he would say yes, but he might say that's not the only way. And then they might say, well, if it's true, it doesn't really matter how they come to believe it. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It matters strongly how you leave Christianity. Like, did you read so-and-so? Did you read this? Did you read that? But it doesn't matter when you go into it. No, you don't have to read a thing.
Yep. Hey, how do you think the pandemic is going to affect things? Because I know, like, my parents' church was closed for a little bit, but they were doing like online stuff, and the pastor was trying to do these like get the kids to draw things or something. It was like, I don't know, kind of. I
think it does hurt the church. I think you need that constant affirmation, that constant, this is true, this is true, this is true, in a fellowship of believers with nice music in the background. And if you don't have that, it's not the same watching a service on your YouTube channel when you got distractions in the house and your kids are bothering you and stuff. I think this COVID pandemic is going to cause Christianity to go down even further. However, the flip side is some people might be so fearful, so scared, that it might cause them to lean on Jesus more. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about it.
I think if people, I guess we'll see in time with the surveys or whatever. I don't know how often they do them, but if they do them frequently enough, then we might see if there was like more of a dip, and over time we'll know, we'll be more sure if it was the pandemic that caused that.
Actually, I think the Pew polls come out every October this month. And
cool.
Yeah, I think a while back I predicted it would go up from 65 because they took a big drop last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I predicted that was a bit of an anomaly, and it'll go back up to maybe 67, 68, and then the next few years plummet. And eventually, probably in our lifetime, less than 50% of the U.S. population will call themselves Christian.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that makes sense. You, like the smaller churches, like I know a lot of small businesses are closing, right? And a church is like a business, so like a lot of those smaller ones just can't sustain, if nobody's coming in.
Yeah. There's still gray-haired people going to churches like when they reopen, and so.
Yeah. They had like a drive-in service at my church, or my parents' church. It was the first one in Toronto, like in the GTA, that had that. And it was very entertaining. They had like honking during the worship, and everyone was like screaming. It was interesting.
Yeah, for people who don't know yet, her parents or her family come from a very charismatic type background. So yeah, instead of speaking in tongues, they honk.
Yeah, I think the church has become more like non-denominational. It was more Pentecostal. And I remember as a kid, like walking past the altar after church where my parents were like ministering, and my dad would be like, "Oh, don't go over there. There's someone getting delivered from demons or something." So like it was more like that when I was younger. And the like older people in the church are still very much that mentality, but I think like the worship style and the sermons are like 3-point, very digestible, like mainstream, I guess, Christianity. So
okay, well, we've been going for more than 5 minutes already, and Alex, I'm hoping we can get have I had a Christian come on yet? I don't think so.
Yeah, you're too popular with all the atheists.
Well, I don't know.
This is a good idea, Doug.
With the 5-minute thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting to listen to.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for hopping on.
Yep, thank you. Nice to see you. Bye.
Oh, well, fax me some Tim Hortons coffee, will you?
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Okay. You just hit the X or leave.
Oh, okay. Where's the X? Oh.
Or I'll remove you. There you go. Hey, Alex.
Hello.
Sounds good. I can hear you. You can hear me.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a theist, atheist, agnostic?
Agnostic. I'm curious to ask you like a panentheistic question.
Uh-oh.
So it would be, is there ever like value in talking about the progress we see in the universe in developing creativity and complexity? Like we observe that in the universe, that it's getting more complex and there's more sort of creative things coming through, at least in the universe, the actual universe that we see, right? Like around, it seems like it's pretty creative. Is there any point in talking about that in terms of a higher power? Any value in your mind?
I'm not sure if
like,
it's
I'm
true.
thinking,
I'm not sure if the universe is getting more complex. Is it?
Would you say that?
Aren't some black holes sucking up a whole bunch of stuff, and it's becoming simpler?
Yeah, I mean, possibly. But we can observe that. That seems pretty interesting, right? I mean, I think that's interesting that we can, whatever we are. Like, I think we are animals and highly developed animals with a specific brain that allows us to create meaning and see patterns and things. But that is cause for that is interesting that we find ourselves in that situation, right? And I'm just thinking of like 12-step programs, right? Those kinds of things, or like just generally that kind of the existential situation some people find themselves in, where they are the kind of personality type who need that kind of connection, right? Like I'm thinking you can do things like secular meta, like loving kindness meditations, which is similar to what I imagine, like the pearl clutching types who are like trying to send love and kindness to their family members and the other side of the world or whatever are doing, but just with like Jesus-y language. So yeah, I'm just curious, like, do you feel that it's always necessary, for example, to then what do you call it? Not to lead people away from talking about these kinds of the situation in like a higher power terms?
Yeah, that's
I'm thinking you can use any abstract noun. It doesn't have to be God. It could be universe with a capital U. It could be like nature with a capital N, evolution with a capital E.
My answer to your question is no. I don't think you need to. I need to constantly lead people away from the idea of the supernatural or a specific religion. I think you're right in that probably the majority of people need something like a higher power, or maybe need something, some myth, some shared myth that they and their community can coalesce around. I think there's some research to support that. However, here's my concern, and my concern is that we start believing things that hurt us. And
for sure.
And I think there's plenty of examples of that. So, like a lot of people who were in Christianity in the United States, for example, have basically gone into New Age or crystals or stuff like that. And a lot of it in horoscopes and so forth, a lot of it is kind of harmless, but some of it isn't.
Yeah, I see this too. And like, this is my concern. Like, what I see is a lot of well-meaning people who have like, there's like a kernel of goodness and that gets like buried in a bunch of shit, basically. And like, I can see why they're clinging and so like desperate to defend all the shit, because it's like, it's tied to the kernel, if that makes sense. Whatever the kernel, like whatever flowery languages, you know, whether it's crystals or horoscopes that they've draped around this, they just needed that, you know, that feeling that they're part of something bigger that makes some sort of sense, right?
Yeah.
It's just like the general, whether it's the Kurt Vonnegut quote, it's like, fox need to hunt, bird need to fly, man got to ask himself why.
Like I saw something on YouTube the other day where some Eastern healer heals people, in quotes, who just stand in front of him and he doesn't touch them. And it's like all energy stuff, right? It's like he just moves his hands. He pretends he's
unblocking the chakras.
Yeah, he's pulling stuff out of their body. Now, as an atheist who doesn't believe in any of this stuff, I still have to ask myself the question, okay, this is probably providing some placebo effect to this person. This person is at least feeling cared for and cared about. And this person's not touching them. There's no way this person, and is not even talking. And so in that exact situation, can any harm be done? Like, now the person on stage or being healed thinks that they're being healed from this stuff, and I believe they're incorrect. But still, if you're going to have a supernatural belief of some sort, this is the one you should have, where it's like you're not touching the person, you're not even talking to them, you're just kind of doing hand waving.
You're not requiring them to assent to like a whole bunch of doctrines. Like, they don't have to say a whole bunch of stuff to enter the building. You know, I remember I went to a Sikh temple with my a family that I was living with once, and it was great. Like, nobody asked me what I believed when I went in there. We just kind of, you know, you went in there, you covered your head, which was, you know, that was a nice little. I think we are ritualistic creatures to some degree. Like, we do well when we have, you know, whatever the ritual is. It can be at home, just like, you know, putting your keys in the same place helps, because you know where it is, and doing the same thing every day is comforting. We like routine. So that's a nice ritual. And then, you just kind of listened to some nice chanting, and it was great. And then you just went and ate, and everybody ate and had the community, which I think is what most people are there for most of the time, is like being part of a community. So
community is the big, which I think a lot of atheists struggle with, unfortunately. And I was raised to be, to me, 6 friends is worse than 3. Like, I'd rather have it small.
You get along with my wife. She's very similar. She's like, why do I need more than 4 friends? That's like plenty. That's way more than enough. I'm curious to ask you one more thing while we have a sec, which is, I think you mentioned a few times that you're Mennonite.
Yes, was.
Have you read Miriam Teves? Any of Miriam Teves' books? She's a Canadian author.
Taves, you mean?
Taves. Yeah, I can't pronounce it. I listened to the hockey. I listened to the hockey, and there was a Teves, but I didn't catch the commentator's pronunciation correctly.
No, I have not read her. What does she say?
Oh, so maybe you would appreciate her. So she is also a former Mennonite. I think she's a former Mennonite. At least I don't think she believes it, but she talks about it a lot because it was so formative. So there's a lot of those Stoic concepts, like, you know, talking about death and, you know, suicidality and all these like very, you know, touchy topics, but they're really interesting. So there's 3 that I've read. One is kind of set in a Mennonite town. One is 2 Mennonite sisters who have like moved out to like the Greater Toronto area from the prairies, and then there's one which is harrowing called Women Talking, which is about based on a true story of a community where there was a bunch of people who were a bunch of women who were falling asleep and waking up and basically realizing with like bruises and things, and they were being told it was demons, and what they discovered is that it was actually the men who were drugging them in the community. And so the women are talking and deciding, as good Mennonites, what do we do here? Like, how do we deal with this? Do we leave or not? And that was, and I don't think I'm doing them justice, but they're really good books. But it was really interesting to me because I was unaware of Mennonite anything before reading Miriam.
Yeah. For those of you,
I was in Canada for a while.
For those of you who don't know, most of the Mennonites are in Canada. Some are in the Dakotas, Michigan, Wisconsin area, but it's a pacifistic form of Christianity. The really older conservative types are basically Christian forms of communism where they commune in colonies and they share everything. A lot of Christians in the U.S. are totally oblivious to different forms of Christianity within North America. I still lean pacifistic, but I know it's not something a country or a government can do. But I do really appreciate my upbringing in the sense of personal responsibility, the stoicism that you mentioned. It's like, hey, look, you're going to die. Life's not fair. It never will be. Deal with it. And that's basically how you're raised, as in my form of being Mennonite, is, don't expect any favors from anyone. And now go work hard, and if you die, you die. Good luck, but you'll go to heaven when you're dead.
Yeah, and I think Miriam's books really. At the time I was in Canada, I was kind of like a lapsed Christian, I guess. Like I wasn't going to church. It was kind of like, I don't know what I really think about it. But I think being introduced to that kind of stoicism probably was part of it. You know how you already discussed earlier today, like different people have like different things that they let go of. But yeah, I guess my question initially, the one that I came in with was just to point out that I think like you really can hold on to that connection with something bigger without like, but then as I've seen a lot of people point out, why this? Like, why this text? Why this interpretation of this text? Why does this all need to be linked to your well-being, right? Like, it seems like you're linking so many things to your well-being that you could just discard with, rather than just like, do I really need to believe this thing about homosexuality? Do I really need to act this way? Do I really need to worry about being alone?
But do you think, Alex, that communities need a shared myth in order to survive of some sort?
I don't think they need a shared myth. I think they need like kind of explicit shared values helps for like a smaller community. Like, depending on how big the community gets, it's hard to kind of really solidify those kind of shared values. Especially when people aren't comfortable talking about them. It's really easy. I think, for me, I was coming from a background when I became a born again Christian. It was so easy to accept it because I was like, I didn't have an articulated set of values, and I was kind of dealing with like nihilism, and I was struggling. And then I got this, like, here's like a ready-made set of values, and it helped, like it helped me improve my life, and you see the benefits. And, at the time you don't see that anyone getting any ideological framework has the same experience. Like, and I'm sure plenty of atheists have the same experience when they first enter into free thinking ideology. They're like, oh my goodness, this has improved my life so much. How could I be wrong about anything? Like, and they don't realize that maybe that ideological framework they're getting has some issues with it too. Maybe the person they were listening to was like the sexist, misogynistic, racist individual, and then they have to unlearn that too. So I think holding beliefs loosely seems like a really, really big thing. Yeah. Because I'm also one of those people who thinks that like what people say isn't so important necessarily, because what they do shows.
Yeah,
like,
I agree with that. That was another Mennonite thing. The thing is, Mennonites have this. It's so Christian that thoughts are moral or immoral, but it's really the actions. And I think the Mennonites got that more than other Christians. But hey, Alex, thanks. We're like at 10 minutes or so, and I got a couple more people here. But thanks,
man.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on. There's a little leave button at the bottom. Okay, Emil. Are you there, Emil?
Yeah, I'm here.
Do you want me?
Hello.
Do you want people to see your face?
Yeah, sure.
Are you a Christian, theist, atheist, agnostic?
I'm kind of new agnostic atheist, I guess.
Okay.
And I'm from Finland, so excuse my English.
Oh, Finland. You guys have great hockey players.
Yeah.
And
before
curling.
Before I started this call, I knew we were going to talk about hockey.
You're like a deity that can see the future.
Exactly. So I need help for two things, I guess. So I'm new agnostic atheist, if you could say that. How would you go about telling your parents about it the first time?
Are you dependent on your parents financially?
No, not really, but I do still sometimes get a little support them, even though I don't really need it, but I still do get it.
Do you have a career?
I'm a student.
Student?
Yeah.
Did you live at home?
No.
What type of Christian are your parents? Protestant, Catholic?
Lutheran, but
Lutheran?
They're like, yeah, like we have always been pretty chill about religion, but still kind of conservative. Like we didn't go to church every month, not even 3 times a year, maybe like one, but still faith has been, at least in my dad's life, like the biggest thing. So that's why I'm kind of afraid approaching them.
Well, there's a joke on how to approach your parents on this topic, and that is you go up to them and you say, "Mom, Dad, I'm gay." And then you say, "Just kidding, I'm just an atheist." So you could try.
That's a good one.
Yeah, you could try that. Because if they are conservative Lutherans, then they might be more upset about you being gay than being an atheist. But let's see. See, for me, it was easy because I was making YouTube videos, and my parents found one of them, and so they actually liked it. I mean, they liked the way I interviewed. But then another YouTube video, they found me basically saying, "Hey, look, I don't believe this anymore." So maybe that's very easy because you don't have to make eye contact with them. So maybe you could start a YouTube channel and having, you don't have to start a YouTube channel, but you could make a video describing why you left Christianity. And it could be the only video that you make on your YouTube channel. And then you can send your parents the link.
Yeah, sounds kind of dramatic. But
well, you think that'd be too much?
No, not too much. But I don't know if that's the right way. But yeah, I'll definitely consider that. Sounds like
or if you feel courageous enough, yeah, you just say, like, for example, in order to make it not awkward, it has to be like in a situation where it flows in the conversation. So I don't know, do your parents pray before you eat? Like when you go visit them?
No. We don't pray before we eat unless it's like Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that was one thing I was terrified about when I went back home, is like, Doug, would you say the grace, before we eat the food? And, well, really, I don't believe in any of this anymore. And then that's boom, it's out there. But yeah, you could just say, "Hey, Mom and Dad, I got something to tell you. I don't believe Christianity is true. I don't believe in any gods. If you have any questions, feel free to ask." You can just boom, put it right out there if you're comfortable enough. But then you got to be careful because you're going to have, depending on, I don't know your parents, you know them better than me, but they might get defensive and just basically boom, boom, boom with questions. And you got to be prepared for that. And and be prepared to say, I don't know to some of their questions, because they might ask you something where you don't know the answer to. And, but my guess is your parents already know. Or do you think I'm wrong about that?
No, I don't think they know, but I think my father knows that I'm having kind of difficulties in faith.
Okay. Yeah,
because
they have doubts.
Yeah, because last time when we met, we had this nice father-son discussion about faith and life and everything, and I sort of gave my father some difficult questions, and he did his best to answer them. But I think he knows that I'm dealing with difficult questions and some doubt.
Did he say to you at that time? Did you get a sense of urgency from him that he's trying, like, desperately to pull you back in, or is he kind of just like saying, "Oh, you know, it's okay to doubt, it's okay to question"?
Yeah, I think he said that it's like okay to question, but I think he still thinks that I'm fairly confident in this faith, because he said to me how happy he is about me and my brother being Christian. Like, that's very important for him. He said that, and that kind of felt like a rock on my heart, you know.
Yeah. Is your brother questioning too?
No, he actually works in the church.
Does he know that you no longer believe?
No.
You're not scared they're going to see this video?
No, they're not going to see it. I'm fairly confident.
You're fairly confident I'm not popular enough?
No. I mean, I highly doubt they will end up watching sort of these apologist or atheist videos on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, some people have said that the name Pine Creek sounds Christian, like a Christian church, and so a lot of Christians do watch my channel because the name Pine Creek, you know, has nothing to do with atheism. It sounds like a church name.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, I gave you some options. I don't know which is the best one because I don't know exactly. It sounds like your dad's could potentially be more upset than your mom. Maybe tell your mom first and have your mom tell your dad, because your mom knows your dad better than you do, assuming, because more years with him and sleeps with him apparently. So
yeah.
Maybe she knows the right way to say it to her husband.
It could be better to tell my mom first. She has always been sort of more chill about these things. Yeah, not so conservative. So, yeah, thanks for that. And I still have another question, and I'll try to make this pretty quick because I also have to go to sleep soon. It's almost 1 a.m.
Okay.
So when I think about hell rationally, it feels really stupid, like illogical, doesn't make sense. But sometimes I still can't get sleep because I'm actually kind of afraid it.
How do you get over that? Is that your question?
Yeah. How do you get over it? Like the hell and the existential crisis, like I've been dealing with lately, and they kind of take the energy from me.
The hell part, I think what helps a lot of Christians is to realize that the Old Testament, although it does talk about hell, it never really talks about hell as a threat. Hell as if you don't believe you're going to go there for eternity and be tormented. It definitely doesn't talk about it in the Pentateuch in that way at all. And so if you're picturing God, if this God is real, and if the Bible is representative of his words, you really don't picture an Old Testament Jew being worried about going to hell on their deathbed. You never really see that. And so that helped me, although I'd never really worried about hell, like maybe a few months afterwards. And and another thing you just said yourself, it's so illogical, infinite punishment for finite crimes. I know Christians have answers to all that because it's you're blaspheming, injuring infinite God and so forth. But yeah, for most people that doesn't cut it. So just focus on the fact that if there is a deity out there, and if beliefs are not really chosen, but it's just over time, it's something that we either become convinced of or not convinced of, why would you even want to be in heaven with a God that might send you into eternal conscious torment for just simply not being convinced of a proposition? It's like, and even if you want to force yourself to believe because you don't want that pain eternally, if this God's omniscient, it could see right through that. So there's just so many plot holes. Here's more plot holes. There's so many Christians who can use scripture to tell you that eternal conscious torment is bad theology. It's bad exegesis. It's wrong. It's the wages of sin is death, not eternal torment. And because when you're being tormented, you're alive, not dead. So if in the back of your mind you're still struggling with hell, think about all those Christians who don't believe it's true. And maybe their interpretation of the scriptures is correct. And the eternal conscious torment people are wrong. But I think for guys like you and me, it's just once you've seen the presence in your parents' closet, it's really hard to believe in Santa Claus again. And I think right now what you might be going through is sort of a muscle memory thing. It's like it's been drilled into you for so many years. It's a matter of I see there's whey protein behind you. It's so I know you lift weights, and I know that you know that when you're lifting weights, you got to change up your routine in order to stimulate those muscles. Otherwise, those muscles expect what's going to happen. And that's your beliefs as well, your Christian beliefs. It's been drilled into you for so many years. You just need to switch it up. Try to think about other things whenever those thoughts come in. Now, as far as the existential crisis part, that's a bigger issue because that's talking about things like hope, meaning, purpose in life, right? Like, why get up and go and do what you do every day and go home and go to sleep and get up and it's just repeating. And for me, it's my hope, meaning, and purpose has been in causing apologists pain and suffering. So that's where I get.
I was about to say that for me, it's not about does anything matter, stuff like this. For me, it's like in the existential crisis that what the fuck is going on in this universe? Like, why does it exist? It's so my mind gets twisted. And
yeah, I think it's a malformed question. It's like or it's a question that no matter what worldview you have, you can ask it. Like, why does God exist? Why? Why does Yahweh exist as opposed to not existing? And the Christian basically has to say, he just does. He just is. He has always existed. It's just the case. You can't ask, why does God exist? That's a stupid question. And likewise, I think if materialism is true, naturalism is true, then why does the universe exist? Why the cosmos exist? Because it just does. There's no reason for it. It just is. It's a brute fact. And every worldview, I think, has this existential question, and that can't be solved. We just gotta live with it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
I still have one more thing. You were talking a few calls ago with J-Man, was it?
Yeah, J-Man.
Yeah, so shout out to him. I got OCD, diagnosed OCD, and all the best for him.
Okay. I'm sure he appreciates
all
that.
The best for you.
See you, Emil.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Okay, one more, and then we'll call it a day. We have Matt. Can you hear me, Matt? I hear a whistle. You there, Matt?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
I was wondering if you have any recommendations for new religious teachers or talkers or apologists. I try to listen to a lot, but a lot of it's boring. It's just the same stuff. I don't know if you found anything fresh.
Well, I'm sort of on a Roman Catholic kick right now, and Jewish kick. So you might want to look at channels like Tanakh Talk.
Tanakh Talk? All right.
Yeah, where they talk about the Tanakh. And then like Dr. Taylor Marshall, who I just did a video on, is hilarious. I find I'm starting to find all these demons and ghosts and goblin type apologists who talk about that topic in specific is quite fascinating. But yeah, I agree with you. Apologists like Frank Turek, William Lane Craig, I don't know, Greg Kokel. There's nothing new there. Never will be nothing. There won't be anything new there. But they still say the darndest things once in a while.
Yeah, it's true. Let's see. On top of that, one thing I wanted to mention. Oh, it's something that this is something you've probably heard plenty of times. The classic brain in a vat. One thing that cracks me up about that is, I study neuroscience right now in school, and so something that is really preposterous to me about that is like, your brain is a physical thing and its cells, but they exist as a response to the environment that you've been in. So like your brain physically wouldn't look the way it did if you didn't have hands, and if that makes sense. So to say that you're in a vat, like the idea that a facsimile of your brain would exist outside, it's like the vat would have to just be your body in your environment. Does that make sense?
You're saying
like why would like a copy of your brain that exists in this, say, simulation where everything lines up, or say like if you learn how to ride a bike better, you will see more neurological growth in the part of the brain that physically exists as matter, then why would that same brain exist in a vat where it doesn't have any of those environmental impulses that stimulate the creation of the new cells?
Well, I think when Christians use that phrase, brain in the vat, the vat is actually your body.
Mm-hmm.
So they still separate the brain from the body and say the brain is more like a mind or a soul-ish type thing. I'm getting a whistle in your background.
Oh.
Can you hear that?
I cannot at all. I can try closing a door.
It's like you're making tea.
Well, if it won't stop, you can just boot me.
Yeah, it's but whenever Christians talk about brain in the vat type language, I just say, okay, yeah, naturalists say we're brains in vats, and you're Christians, you're just souls and vessels. So, so it's just a
all right.
comedic
Well, if the
way.
whistling won't bug you, for a real quick question, I got I got a child on the way, and I was thinking about a lot of the indoctrination talk I hear. Like Christians will say, it's not like we're not telling them the ideas. What we're doing is, of course, telling them these ideas and then packaging it with why they're wrong. But I don't sort of want. I'm an atheist. If that's not obvious. With my child in the way, I don't know if I can explain certain religions to them without almost demonstrating that they're wrong. And I don't know if that's just a conundrum every parent has, but I don't know if you have any thoughts about that.
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, like, for example, I will say to my kids, Christianity, the core propositions of Christianity, whether you're Catholic or Protestant, Orthodox or whatever, is that a man 2,000 years ago rose from the dead. That's the core proposition. And you have to believe in him to atone for sin and so forth. Now, saying that on its face, if that causes the child to say, oh, that a man rising from the dead after 3 days, that's preposterous. There's no chance of that happening. Then I agree with you. Yeah, but that could have happened, right? If we're open to evidence, if we're not closed off to miracles, that could indeed have happened. But the real question now is, what type of evidence would one need to believe such a claim? And I think that's where Christianity falls flat, and most religions fall flat.
Yeah, I appreciate that answer. Well, that's all I got for you. I can sign off unless you want to ask me a closing question about my whistly mic or something.
No, that's right. But yeah, I think it's coming from your computer, not something external from your computer.
Oh, I see. Well, thanks for tolerating it.
Okay, thanks for calling in, Matt. Take care.
Adios. You too.
Okay, so we had like 15 callers, 10 at least. Just checking the chat. If there was any Christians listening to this, wanted to call in, but were scared, don't be. You can call in next time. I won't be taking any more calls now, though. Yes, I like pineapple on pizza, and if liking pineapple on pizza is a sin, if liking pineapple on pizza is wrong, I don't want to be right. I'm a stoic Crispy Do 44. So when I say I'm an 8, I stay at an 8 for a long time. Only Frank Turek saying the darndest things can get me to a 9. What did one of my subscribers said based on the video I made recently? Jesus didn't die for you. He relocated for your sins. Have I ever thought of calling into a religious call center? I have. And I think I have it in my hard drive. I recorded it. Didn't go public ever. Yeah, I never bite. I just send people to hell. Hey, holy shift. Yeah, it was chill. I'm surprised no atheists called in to talk about politics, and I'm surprised that no Calvinists called in to talk about precept stuff. Shocking. Poof. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. We'll do it again sometime soon.